We actually want to be quick.
Quick to give grace to ourselves.
Yes.
I found him. I found it. I figured it out. That was so
That's
scary.
good.
That was so scary. Yeah.
I thought we were stuck with that, man.
Man, Ray's like in all white. And is Ray in heaven?
Yeah, right.
Did Ray go to heaven? He's like in the choir.
Yeah, look at all that sunshine behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this.
right.
Look at this.
Ooh,
I've been wearing my glasses more.
that's a sign of a good time.
I'm wearing my regular glasses more, and I gotta stop.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you got a wound over here.
Yeah, I got a wound. I got like my vitiligo is really acting up, which means that's why this is all pale. I mean, I'm like a teenager again.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Like a mess. Got pimples. Got bad skin.
Here comes my assistant in life. I'm her assistant.
Hello, Kristen.
Hey,
Hello, Kristen.
And
just-
she's gone.
She's just doing Kristen things.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Getting
look
ready
at
for
hey,
Survivor.
Ray, come look. Ray looks like
I'm looking at.
look. Ray looks like he's in heaven.
Does look like he's in heaven.
Yes. Glowing in white.
Holy,
The angels.
holy, holy.
Oh, I see.
East Lake Community Church is an intentional, multicultural community empowered by the Holy Spirit. We passionately pursue a loving relationship with God and everyone Jesus was sent to die for, here, near, and far. Okay, why does Bigfoot matter?
Well, because all of God's creation matters.
I think
all
you're
of God's
stretching Bigfoot into a sermon, and it has no business because nobody
creation
knows.
belongs in a
Bigfoot-
sermon because if his eye is on the Sasquatch, his eye will be on me. So there we go.
All right,
think-
Rob. I'm sending you a text from my mother.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
She
what did I
found
do?
something for you.
What did I do?
No, well, you'll see. She found something for
Oh
you.
man, I hope I'm not in trouble.
I want to know from our listeners if.
Oh yeah, that's
you-
good. Yeah, that's good. I've eaten that before.
Have you?
Yeah.
You gonna show everybody?
It's well, I haven't eaten that one. I've eaten the Oregon version of it.
Okay.
It's just a brownie mix, and then they say it's Sasquatch poo.
Yeah.
No, thank
Sasquatch poo is a lot too much like human poo that I wouldn't want to eat it. So
you. We
My mother pays attention, see, so she's sending things. She said, you'll know which friend this is for once you get it.
see, she knows. She
Yeah.
knows.
Yeah.
She would have sent like some kind of admonition if it was for Philip.
yeah, she lightened up on me at all, and she's still she's pretty upset.
Well, I mean, she was mostly upset she didn't get to meet you face to face last time she was here, so we have to
Oh.
rectify that.
Yeah, that'd be good. Hey, our list. This is in honor of the Celebrate experience that's happening next Wednesday,
Mm,
where Rob is
Okay.
teaching on Sasquatches and somehow relating it to Scripture.
Speaking on Sasquatch, and I'm going to
okay,
talk about how faith.
It's not next Wednesday. It's
I
the
know which week it is. He's getting it wrong.
I
What
know.
is it?
It's the 19th.
19th.
I'm just gonna use my sniffer to sniff for the potluck. That's what it's called.
There you go.
That's what it's called.
It's a good
It will be
potluck.
the shortest
So-
talk you've had to date.
Oh no. Oh, it will not. No, I got books. I got props. I've got a personal story to relate about my own encounters, and talking historical. Oh, it's not going to be short.
So here's what we need to do, because everybody, well,
It
if
is
you
not
followed
going
us
to be short.
for very long,
Rob
you
and the
know-
Hendersons.
That's right. You know that Rob is a big fan of Sasquatches, all obviously. But what you might not know is that I'm a giant fan of aliens. And so we want to hear from our listeners. Do you think there's a higher probability, and you can leave your comment, that Sasquatches are real or that aliens are real? Which has the higher probability? And we'll just let the people decide. And the winner of this,
And I'm just going to throw this out there so you feel really bad, because I don't know if Philip really knows. I have seen a Sasquatch. My love for Sasquatch comes from an actual sighting that is online that I have reported.
was it me?
No.
I could look
So,
like a Sasquatch.
There you go. I didn't see some weird light in the sky. I saw
Oh, what is he doing? Okay. I was like, what is he doing?
Nope, didn't look like that at all.
Right. Okay, but you need Rob's height. So
Didn't
if
look
we
like
could
that
put
at all.
your hair on Rob's head,
You didn't look.
then
Yeah, it didn't look like
maybe.
that at all.
So what was
goodness.
what was this? Can you briefly tell us what
I'm
the
not gonna tell
Sasquatch
anybody until
encounter?
after I reveal it. It's online. You Google me, Sasquatch. I'm on there. My name, Bigfoot. Look in the database. I'm in there.
Wow, that's great. Well, everybody,
I'm Googling right now.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
Okay,
good.
you're Googling.
You want it real specific? Go to Bigfoot Research Organization, Washington County, New York, 1989.
I'm trying to figure out how I can do a mashup of Rob's body with Philip's hair so we can have our own East Lake Sasquatch. That I think that would work. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Michelle, you're not too far off.
I know.
I like it. I like it. I like it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so guys,
We have real stuff to do here. Come on.
there's important things that need to be accomplished. We're not here just to pitter patter around subjects. We are here to accomplish great things. I mean, if we didn't do what we came here to do, the world would just be, well, it'd probably be just the same. But you know, we like to think that what we're about to do is important, and we are going to do a podcast, our final podcast on this sermon series.
Mm.
And this series has been called the Church of TOV, and that's TOV, which stands for goodness. It means something like good in Hebrew or something. I know Hebrew, and I don't just know the cuss words. I know the real stuff, and TOV means good. And so this is a series on being a good church. And today on our podcast, we have all the way from Rutland, Vermont, we've got Rob Townsend.
Wow, he went to Rutland. Look at that.
From the pits of Pittsburgh, we've got Michelle Trayers coming in at you. And all the way from St. Louis, we got Rev Ray.
No, you got to say from the banks of the Mississippi.
From the banks of the Mississippi, it's not baby Moses, it's Rob Townsend.
Oh, it's Ray.
Oh, it's Ray. You're from
Ray.
the banks of Mississippi? I didn't know you were from Mississippi, Ray.
Bro, the
Yeah,
river
he said that.
the river runs through Missouri.
I don't know.
Mississippi River.
Mississippi River runs right there.
Oh, it sure does. I always crossed it in Alabama.
Lewis and Clark came down, headed up that way, and then went off on the Missouri.
All I know is whenever I got to the Mississippi River, do you guys know how to spell Mississippi?
MISSISSIPPI.
Yeah.
MISSISSIPPI.
We say it differently. M-I, crooked letter, I, humpback, I.
Oh my goodness, I never heard that.
Yes.
Put
Did
that
you just
to a
make
beat.
that up?
No.
Wow.
That's what we did in Missouri. That's how girls would be turning jump rope, and they would have to spell out Missouri. M-I, crooked letter, I, humpback, I.
Don't stop, Ray. Keep going.
I can't believe you've never heard of that. But you know what?
You know what? In New Mexico, we were just mining for turquoise. That's all we were doing. We were just digging for turquoise.
Oh my word.
I used to wear
Okay.
that turquoise sometimes, but anyway.
I do.
I like turquoise actually.
See?
Oh, that's a very nice piece of turquoise. There you go.
It is.
Okay,
Fun
Ray, when
story.
you get excited, I can hear you in my office as well as hearing you on the podcast.
But you can't hear me. I'm all the way at home. That would be
No,
weird.
because you made it home. Yeah,
Right.
Ray and I, on the other hand,
We-
are still
We
serving.
didn't get to escape.
Oh, I did an hour of a phone conversation that I won't go into. I would rather be sitting next to y'all.
All right, guys. So here's the deal. We're wrapping up the series. This one was about nurturing. Oh no, my Church of Tove graphic is gone. Hang on.
Christ likeness.
Christ likeness.
Christiformity.
Christiformity. Basically, Christ likeness. Wow, Michelle, come down from the mountain and explain what Christiformity means. I
Ray,
can't even
you
look
did
at Michelle
explain it
right now.
on
The light is too
Sunday.
bright. The light is too bright.
I'm gonna put on some headgear. I'm ready. Let's go.
Wow. I'm surprised she didn't just like hock a loogie and do that one in Hebrew.
I'm waiting.
Oh my word. Oh,
This one was about being Christ likeness. Yes, I like that. Ray
Oh
was
my God.
Ray was in the hot seat. He was doing his thing. DJ Ray mixing up the scripture, keeping it real. But the first thing that I want to ask us to get us started, finally getting to
Just get
something
started.
good, is we're at the end of the sermon series. Next week we start a new one. But what was your favorite thing that you learned either in the series or learned about yourself in the series? So out of the 7, it was 7 weeks, right? 7 or 8.
8. If you put
9.
yeah.
9?
It was 9
It was a lot.
weeks.
It was a lot.
8 sermons, because
8
remember we
sermons.
had the
25th.
25th anniversary week. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, out of all these weeks, was there anything that you learned about yourself? Was there anything that you just learned? Like, what was something that you're like, ooh, I'm going to remember that from that sermon series? You have anything like that?
One thing. Oh my God.
Well, it could be a
The one
bunch.
that I would bring up, is that there is enough for us all to grieve about concerning the church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that one, right?
And that's whether you've been in a church, a part of a church, on staff at a church. We've all, I mean, there are things that you just simply grieve.
Mm-hmm.
And we would be the better if we would actually intentionally take time on a regular basis to grieve that. I mean, you know about marriages that are about to end. That's something worth grieving. You know about, children that are not in the best circumstances. That's worth grieving.
Mm-hmm.
There are people within, your circle of friends that are not doing well. And I mean, that's something worthy of grieving. No, don't just say that sucks for them or I'm gonna pray for them. No, grieve.
Mm-hmm.
Grieve with them. I mean, we have people that are going through round, you pick the number, of chemo.
You pick the number.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
that's worth grieving over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, I'm thinking of just reading the whole book last year and then rereading it for the series, but also the messages. For me, as I was doing the one on grace, what God taught me was I don't have enough with people. That I want to, but there's blocks sometimes for me in having the same amount of grace that He has with me. And that's something that's got to be always looked at, because that's where a lot of the grief comes from when it's not a chemo type thing. I mean, the relational grief, I think, comes from us not having enough grace with each other within the church. And I don't mean let somebody abuse you. I mean, but being gracious in both directions to each other, treating each other well.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the subject that was the hardest for me was on justice. And because I don't necessarily like the answers to that question about how justice is going to be implemented. And so that's hard. And I was glad that Ray could articulate that in a way that I was wrestling with and feeling like that was the answer. But I'm like, I don't know how to get up here and tell people that you're not going to like what I'm going to say about God's justice and leaving it with Him, because on this earth, we're not going to understand it.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's good. This sermon series seems to me like one that I will go back and listen to on a drive or something in about a year. That like I'm just gonna come back to it because it's got so many things for me. The one that really stood out to me was about service, I think, and it was resisting that like celebrity culture and embracing service. As leaders, we have got to be people who serve others. And so it kind of forced me to look at my life and say, okay, where am I serving people Like, where am I doing things that don't benefit me at all? Like, I serve people, but a lot of times when I serve people, I have something to gain from it. But like real service for me is what I'm searching for that doesn't benefit me. It's just for other people. And how many relationships am I in that don't just, I'm not benefiting myself. I'm in them as a servant to that relationship. Obviously that could get out of hand. We need some relationships that bring us life, but it's important to serve people too. So that one stood out to me a lot. I really liked it. But yeah, I will 100% go back to this sermon series and take a drive or something and listen to it, probably get it all in one. So yeah, that's good stuff. So one of the things, were you going to say something, Michelle?
Well, I just was thinking too, have you ever heard that saying, or I think there was even a book about everything I needed to learn in life, I learned in kindergarten.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah. So, thinking of the message that Ray and I did with Mr. Rogers, I'm like, okay, so I need to ask myself when I'm in a situation with people, like, what would Fred Rogers do?
I like that.
And if I could just treat people like I think he would treat people, then I'll be okay.
I know. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Somebody told me too that Mr. Rogers had tattoos and that's why he wore his sweater. Is that true?
I've never heard that.
Never heard that.
We're gonna have to Google that if that's true. It's really interesting to like try to imagine Mr. Rogers, but he's like, because he was in the military, I believe, in some capacity.
He was a military man. He was a military man.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to look up. You guys can look it up while I'm yapping over here, but there goes Ray. If you find it, let me know. I'm curious. One of the things that I thought was fun. So let's talk about this Sunday specifically. I loved that Ray led us into a story about being a Cowboys fan. I'm kind of a Cowboys fan just by default. I'm not a giant.
In the military. Dang it.
What? He did?
He did not.
He did not. Does he have tattoos?
Oh, this has been Googled before because it came up.
Oh.
The man has 0 ink on his arms or anywhere else, this says.
That was a lie.
Yeah. He wasn't in the military. I was always told he was in the military.
Yeah, I've been told a lot. You know what? I think Mr. Rogers is like Santa Claus. Like, we make up the stories we need to believe about him.
Yeah.
It's like, I need him to
make anything up about him. He's already enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm kind of a Cowboys fan just because my wife is the real Cowboys fan. It's a great opportunity to take a nap. But Kristen did not care about football at all or the Cowboys until her dad was struggling with cancer, and they would watch games together and they would text each other all through the game. And from that day forward, Kristen became a football fan, and she still watches. I'm getting kind of teary right now. Still watches football games, Cowboys, and I think it reminds her of her dad and whatever. And it's just so interesting to me that you shared your story too, Ray, about like, can you share a little bit of that in case people miss it? Why is Ray Washington from St. Louis and a Cowboys fan?
I don't have many positive memories of me and my dad, especially in my childhood. And he decided one Sunday that he was going to take me to my very first NFL football game. And it was in Busch Stadium in downtown St. Louis Cardinals, because they had a Cardinals football team. The Arizona Cardinals that you watch now were formerly the St. Louis Cardinal football team, was playing the Dallas Cowboys. Now I'm 3 years old and I know nothing at 3 years old about football. I'm just hanging with my dad. And so whenever the Cardinals had the football, the team that was in the red and white, my dad was cussing, throwing things and acting really, really volatile. And whenever the Cowboys had the football, he was standing up and shouting and buying me popcorn and hot chocolate because it was in December, and cotton candy. And so at that point, I made a 3-year-old intelligent decision to side with my dad, who was clearly a Cowboys fan. And I would later learn in my life that he really was a Cowboys fan. He just wasn't rooting for the other team. And I've continued to be a Cowboys fan. And actually, all of my children are Cowboys fans, except for my only begotten son.
Who is a what fan? What? What's he a fan of?
Yeah.
Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, he is.
Oh my goodness.
That's the devil's territory.
That's
That's
why
what Satan
he and
wins.
man, I love Trey.
Hmm.
Yeah, all those people are falling off into the ocean because they have sin in their life.
Gino.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like the Cowboys are America's team. I mean, it does feel like it feels right. I'm not gonna lie, it does. It's the star. It's a little bit of everything. It's the color.
They're not.
It
They're not.
it feels right. Well, I grew up in New Mexico, and there was no football team.
Well, I can say I'm America's bald man. There we go. It's done. I did. That's all that happened. They said we're America's team, and everybody goes, okay.
All right, well, I'm going to be excommunicated from my family if I don't remind everybody that it's a Steeler nation. So,
It
that's
is.
yeah, it is.
I've never heard of that.
You go to Myrtle Beach, are you going to find a Cowboys bar? No, you're going to find a Steelers where they all go to watch the Steelers games. So
because they're all
right.
Protection.
Michelle is right. It is a Steeler imagination.
Ah!
Yeah. I like it. Okay, let's switch to another question. You guys are out of hand.
We're a little raucous today.
I feel like I try to do things and work hard and be effective and efficient, but you guys just pull me in down. Okay, so this is another favorite part of this Sunday.
Really
that
stuck
I like.
on. You see,
Oh,
King Friday.
I got that. I'm gonna make that my screensaver.
I like it. Okay, another thing that I really liked about this Sunday was whenever you listed the things you said, Jesus is to me. You were kind of talking about that, and for me, it was kind of like one of those, like, I feel like I should stand up and say amen, hallelujah, maybe run a lap or something, because it was just really cool. And I thought this would be fun to just share with our people, who is Jesus to you, like right now in this season. I think people would, and if you want to say why, you can. You don't have to say why, but it would be cool, because if you guys are new to the faith in Christ, you'll realize that at different seasons, God is different things to you at different times. And I'm just curious from you guys, and maybe if you guys are watching online, you can type in right now too, like, hey, right now God is to me. And feel free to testify, put a little testimony in there if you want. Type it out. It feels great.
I spent most of my life without my dad. I knew him. We left him when I was 6 years old. So I had that knowledge of him. And I saw him sometimes during that, but I would never be, I could never fully say that he was a father in the sense him fulfilling the roles and responsibility of what a father is. And I remember when I really started to live for Christ, that to me, and he's that way to me right now, he feels like he's my dad. The word talks about he will be a father to the fatherless. Well, that takes on a whole new meaning once you actually lose your physical father. Because there are times that you would love to, I'll speak for me. There are times when you wish you could share with, but you can't. You can't pick up the phone. And so I remember before my dad actually passed, so our relationship was restored 6 months before he passed. We didn't know he was going to die in 6 months. He didn't know he was going to die in 6 months. It was really sudden. But he had started to call me every Sunday when church would end to find out how was church, what was the message about, how was the attendance going? Because he knew when I was given the responsibility of being the campus pastor, it was in a very critical moment for the church because it was hurting. And so he was really interested and invested in the health of the church as well as me. And so I knew when Sunday service would end, I would be driving home, my phone would ring, and I would get to share with him all of the joys. And now, who do I share those with? That's of a parental level. It would be my mom and him, my mom and my heavenly Father, that is, that I would get to share with him the joys of what I get to experience working with all of you.
for me, you can think of all the words that you could put on a shirt, my strength and all those things. Right now, I was trying to pick the one because the last 5 days, I have felt like a dump truck has dumped on me from all of the places that I get to minister. So things that I can't share on here, just complex situations and all that. And so for me, wisdom, he's my wisdom, because I don't know how to help people navigate out of half of what has landed in front of me in the last 6 days. So for the last 6 days, before that, it was strength, because I've just been so tired ever since that allergic reaction thing. I'm not back to where I was running or any of those things, because it's still kind of weird things going on. It would have been strength, but I would say wisdom.
That's good.
Yeah.
So, my first thought was he's my peace and he's my sustenance. He's sustaining me through the end of my degree program, which is coming up. And but then I was hearing Ray talk about fatherhood, and I thought, really, if I had to look at my whole life, I mean, the Bible says he will be a father to the fatherless, but it also says he will be the husband to the widow. And my marriage died, and in many ways I identify with that, and that Jesus is a husband to me. I feel the same things, Ray, when you're talking about sometimes you want to be able to share things or talk about things. There are things that your kids do that nobody but you and their other parent would get. And so to not have that, to be able to share that all the time, I have to go somewhere with that. And so I go to Jesus with that. So he really is, that intimate person in those times.
Yeah, that's amazing. I am loving hearing this. I think for me right now, this is going to sound kind of crazy, but like, he is gracious to me. These guys will probably tell you, I know Michelle will, because she's the first person that kind of revealed this to me, is that I am really quick to show grace to everyone else, but I'm really slow to show it to myself. That's just something that I've always done. I've always been that way. Like and I think I know, right? And I don't know why that is, but I present myself as very carefree, but I'm very hard on myself. And I would say the last 3 years, I mean, about since the time I came to East Lake, he's been gracious to me. He's been a giver. The gospel's come alive in a fresh way for me. I think I've preached the gospel to everybody, and I've forgotten to preach it to myself. And so anyways, I feel really good. Like, whereas I used to kind of feel like I was running from God, like I couldn't be myself with God, like God, like there was like a fearful, that's probably the way to describe it, like a fear. Now it's more of a friend, because friends have grace for each other. Fear is like this entity that you're scared of, and friend is somebody that's just kind of with you in everything, all day, every day, because there's no fear, there's pure grace. And I love that.
That's cool.
I hope while we're telling all this, people are typing in a little bit of what God is to them. If not, you better get to work. Get on it. Yeah. This podcast, I just thought it'd be fun to take some highlights of things that Ray said this Sunday, and we just kind of talk about them. So another thing, like these are like quotes of the day. All right. Another quote was, "Are you reconstructing walls that Jesus died to tear down?" Forgive me if I'm quoting this wrong. Are we reconstructing walls that Jesus died to tear down? Yeah. I mean, like that, like, so let's look at our lives right now. All of our listeners, us as pastors included, where are we putting in barriers that Jesus removed?
Pass.
Pass.
You can't do that. You can't do that.
Pass.
You can't do that.
It's like the old $25,000 pyramid. Pass.
Yeah. I think.
I mean,
I go ahead, Ray.
I was just gonna say, pick whatever it is, whatever you could divide over. I mean, okay, so we started off talking about football. If Michelle and I, if there was an opportunity for me to go to a Pittsburgh Steelers game, whether the Cowboys are playing or not, would I go to a Pittsburgh Steelers game? Of course I would. And would I boo the Pittsburgh Steelers the whole time I'm there? I better not.
I thought you were gonna say yes.
No. I mean, guys, I'll tell you this. So for our 5th year anniversary, Sherlyn and I surprised Sherlyn, and we took a train from St. Louis to Chicago. And so Sherlyn is really not a sports fan. The only sport she played in college, and in high school, and I gave her a hard time about it because I said, that's not a sport. It probably is, but I just said it wasn't. She was swimming. She swam. And I said, that's just you. There's no ball involved. There's no defense. There's no offense. How is that a sport? That's just me. But I took her to a St. Louis Cardinals game versus a Cubs game.
Ooh.
Oh.
In Wrigley Field.
Yeah, that's good.
If you know anything about St. Louis Cardinals versus the Cubs, it is a volatile relationship. Okay. But while we were there wearing our Cardinals gear, there was no hatred. We were able to enjoy the game in a beautiful stadium.
Mm-hmm.
That's nostalgic. They refuse to build or improve, or they want to keep it the way it is. It was nice. What's my point? My point is although we can divide over a lot of things, they don't have to be to the point to where we can't even enjoy company with one another. And so right now, I mean, we got an election coming up. So people have already started drawing their lines in the sand. And I'm looking like, really? None of those lines will exist in heaven, right?
Yeah.
It's just a waste of time and energy.
Mm-hmm. Ray, when you were talking about, how we choose those positions a lot of times, like you did with football, way back in our childhood. It's interesting to me. I won't say which party, but I was brought up with allegiance to a certain party. And I never knew why, because nobody ever told me what the party believed. And I finally found out why. We were beholden as a family to that party because my great-grandfather was a big wig in the other party for years in the state of Vermont and was elected time after time in state politics. Was forced out by that party, and the other party took him in. And so the whole reason we were said, you're going to be, I don't want to tell you, you're the duck party, is because the giraffe party had helped this guy get to prominence, kicked him out, and the duck party welcomed him in. It had nothing to do with what anyone believed. And yet there was dividing conversations if you ever talked about the giraffe party. And so it's such an illustration of, it goes back to, as fallen beings, we form allegiances sometimes when we don't even know why. And then we make them bigger than they need to be. There's nothing wrong with being the giraffe party. There's nothing wrong with being in the duck party. There really isn't. And there's nothing wrong with being different from each other and having disagreements with each other. The problem is when they create such an identifier that it becomes our identity above and beyond Jesus, that we get into that trouble every single time. And it drives me insane. I can't even remember the question I'm answering, but it just struck me to point that out because you had gone beyond the football illustration in your illustration. And I got to thinking about how that goes back to the same thing for me, sitting with a grandfather telling me the story about why these people are better. And it had nothing to do with policy, position, or belief.
Yeah, that's the way I feel whenever I'm talking about Androids and iPhones. I'm like,
well, now
that's a different subject.
I mean, I tried to go over to Android. I really did. I did all the research. I did all the things. And I decided Android is like the phone you want to invite over for the party. Like, it's a great time. It's a great time. Androids have all these cool toys and trinkets. You can hack them. You can do fun things. My Android is like probably a projector if I want to project on the wall. But if I need to get something done, I go get my iPhone and I get it done, and it gets done properly, quickly, in and out. Let's go. So
Yeah.
I'm going to start a business with an iPhone. I'm going to go party with an Android. Sorry,
Amen.
Ray.
Amen.
Anyways, back to the serious stuff. The question was, are you reconstructing walls that Jesus died to tear down?
I hope not.
I'll give you an example. I mean, it's kind of what this is different. What I was talking about was showing grace to myself. I mean, I was tearing down walls for other people. I'm showing grace to everybody around me, everybody that I meet. But when it came to myself, I was building walls up.
Wow, that's a great observation, Philip.
Just kind of like, and it's like, wait a minute, those walls don't need to be there. Another one, and this cheats, I'm a little bit cheating because I know the questions I'm going to ask you guys, but another one is like in marriages. Like, a lot of times I know I meet with couples that it's like, I am totally willing to accept God's grace for me, and those walls are gone, and God receives me just as I am, da 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 da. But my spouse, you better get them, God. You better get my spouse. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm good, but have you look over there?
How about fixing that person?
Yeah.
Over there. Yeah.
Yeah. Which kind of leads into a little bit of this Sunday sermon, doesn't it? No, it's a little
Yeah.
tease.
A little bit.
A little bit of a tease. Yeah.
Oh
That's
my
good.
goodness.
Well, nobody ever goes to sleep at night thinking, nobody lays their head down to think that they're working against Christ. Nobody goes to sleep at night like thinking, yep, I'm a Pharisee, I'm Pharisaical, like I am the religious one, or I'm working against Christ, or this or that. And so is there anything we need to be doing to kind of check ourselves, or like, is there anything that kind of to just like, hey, no, I think I know the answer to this as I ask it, but I like to hear you guys comment on it. How can we be sure that we're not working against Christ? Like what do we need to be doing?
I'm going to put a caveat on what you said. I don't think there's anyone in the church that is willfully trying to follow Jesus that thinks that. I have met some individuals in my life
Yeah.
that publicly have tried to, and I believe really are trying to go. But in the church, you're right. What do we have to do? We have to keep our ego in check. When my ego's in check, the Spirit can smack me down much quicker. At least I see him smacking me down when I begin to exhibit those tendencies, which I'm very capable of doing. If my ego is submitted, using Ray's "it's," if I am submitted to the Spirit, it is much harder for me to get Pharisaical. Where in my natural state, oh yeah, look at me, I'm better than you are doing this Jesus thing.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking, I'm pretty sure it was in this sermon that Ray talked about leadership and discipleship, and the Bible teaches us about following. So I think one of the things that we can do to ask ourselves about how are we doing in our walk and where we're going is, who am I following? Did I let Jesus in enough today into my decisions, into my thoughts, to be able to say that I was really following him? Because we all, we get up, even if you have a committed time in the morning that you spend with God, or maybe you do yours at night, whatever it looks like, we get caught up in the busyness of the day and we forget even to ask him, and so I just the other day was like, oh Lord, I just realized I didn't ask you anything about that. I just went ahead and did it. And so we need to say, who are we following? Our own inclinations, our own emotions, or are we following Jesus?
In rabbinical school, first century rabbinical school, when a rabbi would walk in front of his students as he was teaching, you could tell who the what would be considered the favorite students are. And what you're taught is that those that are covered in the dust of the rabbi are those that follow the rabbi closest, because they're right behind him. And so as he's walking, the dust is. And so for us, with your question, Philip, is how dusty are we? Or do we, or are our robes all clean? Because if you're really following Jesus, the places that he has us to follow him are places that are filled with filth. Because that's where the gospel is needed.
Yeah. I don't want to steal the thunder from this sermon, and I can't remember. So the sermon that's coming. So I'm going to but there's something that was said in one of our meetings that bears repeating on this subject. Now, if it's for this coming sermon, I'm going to cut myself off real quick. But it was something about affirming. You guys know what I'm talking about? It was about, and when I say affirming.
That was during that 10-minute sermon he made us write today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can share that.
You want to talk about barbarian. You want to talk about torturing your staff.
Yeah.
We watch a 5.5-minute video today, and God bless him. Ray goes, now we're going to write a sermon, and you have 10 minutes, but then you have to give it.
Yeah, that's what Ray makes us do at work.
The seminary man in me is like, I'm going to preach heresy because I don't have time to figure this out.
Yeah, I changed my whole theological position after hearing Rob's sermon, but I think it was all
It was fun though. It was fun. It was fun. It was terrible. Don't do it again.
Yeah.
One time. It's fun.
Well, Ray stretches us. That's, he keeps us going.
Yeah. Well, what was said, the thing that just stood out to me, and it was so good, is do we wake up and come to church looking for affirmation?
Yeah.
Am I messing this up? Is this coming this Sunday? No?
No. That was in a meeting. That wasn't in today's meeting. That was yesterday.
That was yesterday.
Okay.
We're talking,
people, get your pens out. Get your pens out, because this is good.
See, we have so many meetings. We don't.
Do we wake up? Do we
Yeah.
come to church? Is our prayer, is our desire for affirmation of what we already believe? Or is it disruption from what we think we believe? Is that the way it was said, Ray? Let's get that right, because it was powerful. Ray's going to correct me.
So what I said was, when we come to church, do we come to church to be affirmed in what we already believe to be the truth, versus do we come to church to be convicted of what we believe is the truth? Or be convicted by the truth. I'm sorry, be convicted by the truth. And so, unfortunately, I think many times we want to be affirmed. When, if we were truly following Jesus, since we are imperfect beings, that we should probably position ourselves being ready, like you're going to get a shot at the doctor's office. We should get ready to be offended by the truth, because we're not living it.
That's what it was. Are we looking to be affirmed by the truth, or are we ready to be offended? Offended.
I'm glad you did this, because remember, I was out of the room for that whole meeting.
Oh, that's right. You were. Yeah.
No, this is good. I'm glad to hear this, because I
mean,
was meeting with someone who came in that needed for a
that
care process. But that is awesome.
That whole statement can even go into preparing a sermon. Are you preparing a sermon wanting to affirm people's beliefs? Like, a lot of people like the preacher who affirms what they already believe. Like, that's a great way to make people like you. Or are you preparing a sermon ready to potentially offend people with the truth? That doesn't make a lot of fans, and it doesn't always grow a church. I mean, there's just so many things wrapped up in that statement. That stuck with me. I'm glad we got that nailed down now that we've heard it 2 times. It's in here.
Yeah, I'm already offended by this week's message. So,
and you're bringing it.
Well, I'm offended first. So,
okay.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, Ray. Wow.
Yeah.
It's
well,
good
the
stuff.
the Lord usually puts us through our paces as we're preparing it. If we're being open and honest and being willing for the Lord to talk to us about what we need to see,
He messes me up.
we feel it first.
Mm-hmm.
He usually messes me up. Usually, we talk about this in teaching team a lot. When we know that there's a potential being. I know something's going to offend people when I've already been offended by it. It's funny because what the perception will be is you're trying to offend me. I'm like, oh no, God offended me first.
But it's truth. We don't get to have our opinions on this stuff. It's truth, Yeah, that's good. So what's the new series that we're coming up on? So we wrapped up Church of TOV. What's the next one? I mean, I already know. I mean, yeah, but tell us, Ray.
You're asking like you don't know.
I'm so curious, Ray. What are we going to do next?
Tell us all.
It's Family Game Night Part 2.
Ooh.
I think the last time we did Family Game Night was 2 years ago, at least 2 years ago, and we did Monopoly, we did Sorry, we did Telestrations.
And me doing Sorry was horrible because every time I said it,
Sorry.
Yeah,
everybody picked up.
Yeah.
Michelle, do you remember? Oh, Michelle did Chutes and Ladders. She did Chutes and Ladders. And so at some point we asked the body that is Eastlake, is there a sermon series you would like to see again? And I remember that Family Game Night was so fun. And so we decided to bring it back. And this time we're doing some different games. So this weekend we will open up with Operation. And then next week we will have
Connect
4. And then the week after that, Pastor Michelle is going to present Uno. Yes, Uno.
I hate
game
that
that
game.
Destroys families and friends.
Yeah, I
That's what
hate
we're doing.
Uno.
Everybody's got their own rules, man. You play it at a table, they're like, oh yeah, you can do 18.
Yeah.
But Michelle, you want to share? Michelle, you want to share with them? Yeah, So I sent her a TikTok specifically about Uno because the creator of Uno has recently come out regarding the rules that have been very loose.
Finally,
according to us,
No,
that
house rules rule, man.
No, that's not what the creator said.
You keep talking. I gotta go let my daughter in. I'll be right back.
Michelle, do you remember what they said? What the creator said?
Something about
the draw twos.
There we go.
The
you cannot play a draw 2 on top of another draw 2.
That's always a draw 4. My kid's been doing that to me for years.
Yeah. Well, this made the Daily Show.
Oh my gosh.
For all your news, you cannot play a draw 2 on top of another draw 2.
In my house, forevermore, you shall be able to.
Okay.
Oh, that is not.
She does it all the time. She does it all the time.
Well,
the creator of the game said that is not the way you play Uno.
Not my house, though. I get to make my own rules. This isn't Jesus we're talking about.
So while we do this sermon series, I've got an idea that I would like to present. I think while we're doing Family Game Night, we should get ourselves a giant board game going in one of the little tucked away places in the church, in like a hard one, like Risk or something. And we should just keep it going for the month, and we just dedicate 30 minutes a week to go in there and make it happen.
I don't trust that. You don't move pieces.
I would never cheat.
We're going to take pictures of that board, or we're going to do what me and my friend Donnie used to do when we were in 5th, 6th grade. We would write down what was on every one of those territories.
Yeah.
Somebody was going to cheat.
I think we need a board game going throughout the series. Maybe we put it in the auditorium and people can come in and see who's actually winning as we go. But we dedicate 30 minutes or something a week to it. And then it's, I see nothing but great things coming from this.
Are you going to record us so you can play it?
No, the board game sits out. Maybe we'll put it under a glass thing like in a museum. It's going to be phenomenal. And there's light shining on it. And all the spectators can come around and look and see that I'm slowly dominating.
Philip, is the scale 1 to 5 or 1 to 10 at your house for projects? I forget.
It's a 1 to 10.
Okay, so where is this? 1 to 10?
This is a 5. This is a
Oh,
5. This is a
okay.
5.
Okay.
So I'm actually very small, but a little serious. So here's the thing. When you guys, Michelle started this. You guys have to know that I'm extremely creative and I change directions all the time. Obviously, you can tell by watching this podcast. But I have so many ideas that I love to share with Kristen. So I have come up, and Kristen doesn't like it because she doesn't know what's real and what's not. Like, is he really going to do this, or is this? So I have a scale of 1 to 10. 10 is I'm doing it. 1 is like, I just need to talk about it because it's fun and interesting. 5 is like, I'm interested. If you got interested, we could move this to a 6 or 7. So this idea is at a 5. So let the people decide if they want it to move to a 6 or 7. 6 or 7 is when you start plotting out your plan to actually make it happen.
All right, so there you go, folks. You can put a number in the chat from 1 to 10.
Oh wait, so what's the other game? Uno and the game of life.
Yeah.
Game of life is the last one.
Maybe we should play one of those games over 4 weeks.
I think we should play the game of the week.
Oh.
Oh. Yeah, there's so many options on the table now. We're having
all these games are easy games to play. Like the game of life, you just do the spinner, and if you get 4 kids, you get 4 kids. There's nothing else in that. You have 4 kids.
Yeah. That would
you don't get to pick that. You gotta land right.
That's true.
Oh my.
Anyways, I would love to whoop all of you in Risk. It feels like it would make me feel good about myself, and I'd enjoy watching you guys.
You wouldn't beat me at Risk.
Okay, guys, we've got to wrap this up. Enough of this nonsense. What is coming up that our people need? We know about the new sermon series. What is there's something around Halloween or something like that?
Oh, that's me. I guess Fallapalooza. Which is for everybody. So that is our student ministry that night. That is our elementary ministry that night. That is our grandparents coming that night. That is our parents coming that night. We have so much fun. There's something for all ages. We'll have a trunk or treat. We'll have food trucks. We'll have just a blast. We're really, really excited about it. And I'm hoping that you just got home from being at our parent-to-parent discussion when you turn this on, because you can tell all your friends to make sure they come next week if they're parents. Because we will launch that. We will have launched that about an hour ago or 2 hours ago when this airs.
I like that.
So I was just thinking, we're in this series called Family Game Night. And I know there's lots of people at Eastlake that like to play games. And I have committed to some people on my team that I will draw attention to the fact that we have an affinity group that plays board games. And so if you like to play games, you need to go check out the affinity group that plays games, because the people that are in it are a lot of fun and they'd like to have you join them.
I like that.
Also, the men's retreat is coming up. You can go and sign up online right now. It will be the first weekend in November. And so sign up for that. And then also something that we didn't tell you, every week at each service, when you check in by hitting the I'm Here button, you'll be entered into a drawing to win the game that we're preaching on that morning.
Woo-hoo.
So come with your phones ready. Oh, and guess what? There will be a QR code on the back of your seats that you can just scan that and check in.
It's on the back of my computer. I would show it to them, but it's on the back of this device.
Yep.
I love it. Yeah, that's really exciting. Okay, I got another thing we can vote as we close out. Another thing we can vote on the number system. Remember, 10 is we're doing it. 1 is I just need to talk this out. 5 is I'm interested if you're interested. This is, what if we had a choreographer, somebody who like does choreography in our church? I don't know. I think somebody knows one. Somebody has to know one. And for Fallapalooza, we did the staff. And we did choreograph to like Thriller or something. And we all learn it, like Michelle, Ray, Rob. Everybody's got to like learn it. We do like, you know how they do at weddings? Wouldn't that be fun? Fallapalooza. We're just like, I would love that.
I think I'm going to be in a Winnie the Pooh costume.
Perfect. Even better.
She'd be a zombie Winnie the Pooh.
So we need to know from the people if that would be fun. It would be like a flash mob, because we know that Pastor Laura and the whole family team probably has a big plan that night. So just be like a flash mob, like you're just getting candy, you're doing your thing. Next thing you know, the thriller. I don't know. Let me know. 1 to
I think
10.
that's fun.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
I guess that's it. We're gonna
Rob-
sign off.
Rob is quite the dancer. If you remember early in the pandemic, there were like hundreds of TikToks of Rob dancing.
Well, I don't know. Did you see me dancing, lip syncing to "Let It Go" on the whitewater rafting trip? I posted that.
Yeah, that's quality.
Yes.
That was high. That was quality.
I nailed a round
Pastor
off.
Rob has moves.
Mm-hmm.
I nailed a round off.
Mm-hmm.
I
I can do a lot of things with my
I
arms.
couldn't walk
That's
for
about
3
it.
days, but I nailed a round off.
Most of my dancing's in the shoulders and the arms. A little bit in the facial expression.
Wow. I'm gonna turn this off again. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna sign off, everybody. We love you. We'll see you later. Good night. East Lake Community Church is an intentional, multicultural community empowered by the Holy Spirit. We passionately pursue a loving relationship with God and everyone Jesus was sent to die for.